welcome everyone to this week's webinar. And we hope that you had a fantastic start to your day or evening, depending on where you're tuning in from in the world. And my name is Jesper Palmborg, and today I will be your moderator. And today we will have a very, very interesting panel featuring claims technologies and fraud detection, where we will see where the industry today and how it's today is dealing with fraudulent matters efficiently, some potential pitfalls with the developing technologies, and of course what we can expect in the near future. What can we really expect concerning AI in claims? And Ralph, I'll allow you to get on this one.
Thank you. And as I mentioned in the first question, we are in ServicePower already doing a lot in general about fraud prevention, fraud detection, and having many AI solutions in that space, especially the one that we built ourselves. I think what we've seen throughout that is that we're only at the beginning. We've already had quite a couple of successes, and we could improve fraud detection ratios and so on, but still it feels like just the beginning. The better the data goes in quality, in availability, the further we can develop that. So I would still mark this the early beginnings of the AI age in fraud. But there's a couple of topics that I see are very important, I think are very important going forward. One is definitely deeper analysis of documents and data via the natural language processing and so on. I think understanding the whole constellations and link everything you do within a claim also to potential fraud or not, and also building the whole piece of behavioral science in there, because there's a lot of behavior that we can now detect, whether it's in text, whether it's in actually speech analysis on the phone, that will show you emotions, that will show you hesitance and so on, that I think are really important to understand and then obviously interpret into patterns. Deeper analysis of pictures and videos is definitely a second area that we're investing a lot. I think understanding metadata of these sources is really important, because you do get a lot of insights around geolocationing, time, data information, whether documents, pictures, videos have been alterated and in which way, and matching this to previous documents that we've received. I think that's a really interesting one. So we can realize early that whether we've seen parts of a picture or this picture before, and I think that's a really helpful one. So start using and understanding the pixels. I think is a really interesting one. Third is to enhance the data that we get out of external sources or public available sources, social networks, and all these kind of data, weather data, traffic data, end user device data, if it's being made accessible and public. I think there's a lot of interesting stuff coming that way that we can match to a whole overall situation within the claim, to understand the claim better. Again, it's often not only to do fraud detection, it's also to come to a good decision in general within a claim. And ecosystems that we're in, good partnerships to OEMs, whether it's in the motor space or technology space, are really helpful in that terms as well, because it actually gives us a chance to understand the general purpose of certain functions and whether they're being used in another way that they should, and that all kind of buys into this process. And we've heard that before, linking the fraud insights and in a non-personal way, of course, into underwriting data, linking it to underwriting decisions, product development. I think that becomes more and more important. That often you see that claims, people claims data still in their silo, and not all of the relevant information actually makes it through to other processes, especially in underwriting. And there is a lot of potential for underwriting fraud in general. And I think you can tackle that early, making this data available and making standard processes to understand that. But really important, I think, is that fraud is a big challenge, but it's committed by a few. Right, so we still need to make sure that whatever we have in place and how we go about claims handling, our standard customer is honest, and he should be actually treated that way. And he should not be put under a general suspicion, right? I think that's really important. And again, the other one I stressed before is, assuming or understanding that this is potential fraud is only the first step in that process. But afterwards, you need to actually have people that can pick it up and make something out of that. And the one is the standard claims handler. He needs to have a lot of know-how. He needs to be really experienced, and he needs to have a good gut feel, because there is lots of fraud detection in that area. And also then you need to have really good fraud investigators, and with us, that's all former criminal investigators that we hire, that have been previously with the police, so we can really take that into the further process of investigating and making sure that we gather all the evidence in a way that it can also be used in front of courts, etc., etc. And I think that's the whole thing that needs to go together. An AI solution as such is not enough.
Thank you so much for that very, very wide angle to where we're heading, and that definitely gives us an outlook of what to expect and what to see. But to see it from a solution provider's angle, Brad, how do you see the future about this?
So I want to reinforce something that Ralph said in the beginning there, which is AI has been around. We've talked about AI for a long time, and I'm going to even throw machine learning into that again. The reality is AI is a very powerful tool, but as it relates to being applied across various industries, especially insurance, there is still this learning curve of how best to apply it and how best to use it. And what we see is that what people are learning is, again, the data is key of what you're feeding into an AI and machine learning model, and you have to have a feedback loop to that. So again, there are multiple systems in play as it relates to most insurance companies and the technologies that they're using. So it is, how do you go about then having a strategy that says, how do I ingest different disparate sets of data and then normalize those together to use AI and machine learning in a meaningful way for, like we've been talking about, as it relates to fraud. So some of the things I think you're going to see is, again, those machine learning capabilities and the data models and the ability to ingest that data and make sense of it will become more powerful as the insurance industry, again, starts to understand better how to use those tools. I'm going to kind of go outside for a second, tell you another thing that I see that's going to be big in insurance, and we're seeing a lot of this right now, is it kind of goes outside of AI, but AI will leverage this, which is a better connected ecosystem. So when you consider all the players in insurance, you have the insurers, you have adjusters, you have contractors that may be doing work. There has to be a simple way to understand when it's time for an event or there's time for a claim, what is my best path as far as executing on that claim. And so what we see today, or what we've been seeing, is there's a lot of disparate systems, a lot of different ways that you communicate with the various organizations, and there will be standards in an ecosystem that are being built. We're seeing that being executed on as we speak, where you connect all those together and then use that same AI and machine learning to understand what's my best path to handle this claim and detect fraud if there are any issues along the way. So that's one area where we see that as a huge deal. I would tell you that there are emerging technologies, and I believe I heard Ralph say something about photos. That's another one that we've looked at, some technologies where we've seen things like, can I use AI and machine learning in analyzing photos to detect anomalies? And that's another way that I can compare things and understand if something like fraud might be taking place, or did the work necessary for this claim get done correctly. It's a very powerful tool. So, again, I personally believe it's just a question of taking the existing technology that is out there today. That technology will continue to evolve, but it's just as much about the industry learning how to leverage that technology and then learning to understand the data that is fed into that technology, because that's the real key for it to learn, for it to have continuous feedback. I'm really curious to transition here to Alessandra, because I know her data and analytics background, and I know how important data is to this, to drive this. So that's my opinion.
And I'll allow that transition to go quite seamless to Alessandra directly.
Thank you. Well, I think we can see the role of AI in claims in, I would say, 4 areas. First one being automation. So we can automate simple tasks. In Generali, we have a very powerful automation of all the health claims settlement, very, very efficient. I personally filed my medical expenses 2 days ago, and it has been already processed in 2 days. It was done. Not 2 days of processing, but 2 days later, I got to the fact that it was filed. So I would say this is maybe the first thing you can think of. There's a lot. The traditional insurance business has a very heavy, let's say, human component, not necessarily dedicated to value-added tasks. So we have a lot of processes and procedures that require human intervention when there's no real added value. Actually, in some cases, the repeatedness of activities might bring errors and mistake. And on the other side, we sort of take away people from tasks where the human, say, sensitivity and empathy can make a difference. At the end of the game, we were making the joke in the beginning, but we are here. The claims is the moment of truth, right, for our customers. We sell a product that is used only when there is a claim. So we better make it right. So we have to dedicate people when the people are needed and when people make a difference. So automation is key, in my opinion. The second part is maybe more future thinking, but prevention. I'm sure there's a lot we can do in prevention, in the sense of maybe when we will have more, let's say, hyper-connected infrastructures and so on. There's a lot that we can do. And going back to the concept of ecosystems, where we can process data in real time, and thanks to the experience and the previous claims we already have, we can sort of say this is a situation that might end in a claim. So we might work to predict. This is a bit further down the road, but I think we have to keep it in mind. Another part is what we call the prediction. So the examples we were making for anti-fraud before, predicting which are the claims that are more likely to show up fraudulent behavior, but as well as predicting claims that are likely to satisfy both parties with a quick cash settlement. So why should we go and go to the body shop and so on? We settle it cash, we are happy, and the customer is happy. And finally, and I left it for the last part because I think it's the one where it is very important, the role of AI, is the augmentation of the human capacity. So we have been already mentioning, both by Ralph and Brad, on the role of the images. We have a very strong and established practice of image analytics. We have built an important set of functionalities that on one side are able to look into the images and find a lot of relevant information, where the claims have happened, if the claim picture is consistent with the dynamics described, if the image has been altered, if it has been already seen in our database, and so on. So this is a clear augmentation of the human capacity, because no human being can say, I already saw this damage somewhere else, but the machine can. And the more at the same happens, for instance, when I was mentioning earlier the link analysis. We have patterns of, let's say, people role that repeat themselves with a changing role in different claims. No human being can be able to understand that in one case I'm the driver, Brad is the insured person, Brad is the counterpart, and you are the testee, the witness, and Ralph is the third transported person, and then we switch around and with all the permutations, right? And this happens in different claims. No human being will be able to track this pattern repeating, but machines are. So link analysis helps to track this kind of thing. And of course, you can leverage external data, as I said, always inside the framework of the ethical and trustworthy behavior. So I really think that AI in the future is going to be really integral part of the way we handle claims.